Well, thank you for joining us today. I was hoping to begin by asking if you could share a little bit about why you decided to join the military, and why and when you decided to transition as well to your career at NASA.
Absolutely. And so it was a pretty young age, actually, that I was interested in being in the military. I grew up in Northern California, not a ton of military influence there. However, my father did serve in Vietnam. And I think it really was just the concept of being a part of something that's bigger than you and serving your country. Then when I was young and in high school, I knew that's what I wanted to do. And that led me towards United States Naval Academy, where I was then commissioned in the Marine Corps. And then, of course, I flew F-18s in the Marine Corps, and I hadn't even thought about NASA yet. That was a dream that hadn't even crossed my mind, really, because I didn't really know what astronauts did and if that was something that was in the realm of possibilities. And so it wasn't until flying Hornets on my first deployment that somebody asked me, like, "Hey, did you ever think about being an astronaut?" And I was like, "Huh, I don't know." And I Googled astronauts, and there were two active at the time, Doug Hurley and Colonel Bresnik. And so I looked at their bios and I thought, wow, my bio is very similar, the early part of it, to their bio. I wonder if that's something that I could do. And so that's the first time I kind of considered it.
Would you say that the process of becoming a Marine or the process of reaching where you're at now with NASA had been more challenging?
Wow, that would be tough to compare because, relatively when you're a young person and you're becoming a Marine, that is difficult. That is very challenging. I think because a lot of the skills that you're learning are new. You're being pushed, beyond your physical boundaries, beyond your mental boundaries. You're being kind of born as a Marine. And so that's very different, I think, than the kind of stressors that I have right now. Now becoming an astronaut, there's a lot of technical study. There's a lot of physical demand when, I'm just training for an EVA or a spacewalk, essentially. But I guess having that foundation as a Marine to know you can physically push through, you can mentally push through, that's really prepared me for all this training that I have at NASA, preparing for a flight into space.
I think you just touched on this, but were there other experiences from your time in the service that have lent well to the skills that you've needed to succeed as an astronaut?
Absolutely. I think a big one with that is the ability to compartmentalize, right? You learn in the military, okay, I'm focused on this mission right now and I need to execute. And you may make a mistake and there may not be time to think about it and feel bad for yourself for doing anything because you need to move on. So you've got to compartmentalize that. You'll debrief it and learn from it later, but sometimes you don't have time to sit and dwell on that. Then there's times when you're home, when you nearly need to focus on your family and spend time with your family. And then there's other times where you're getting ready for a deployment, you're in workups, and you need to focus on being prepared in your job. So I think that's very similar to being an astronaut. Training for a space flight is similar to workups for a deployment. There's times when I really need to focus on my job, and then other times when I need to focus on myself or my family. I think it'll be similar operating in space. If you make a mistake, you've got a job to do. So you better, learn quickly and move on. And then you can feel bad about that later on and correct yourself.
I understand you're also part of what's called the Artemis program. And I'm wondering how you think that it might impact other people or what it might mean for you to be one of the first women in space, and then of course to be on the moon.
I think it's going to have an impact across the world, to be honest with you, when we put boots on the moon and whoever that is to have, to be the next person to step foot on the moon or to be a part of that Artemis program. It's an exciting time for NASA human exploration. And hopefully it will continue to, unite us together. There's a lot of international partnerships, a lot of commercial industries that go towards that. We have the launch of Artemis coming up the end of this month on August 28th. I hope everybody tunes in to watch that huge rocket leave planet Earth and head towards the moon. I mean, you hear people tell stories. I'm sure you've heard people still tell stories about watching Apollo launch, and, neither of us, I'm sure, were around during those launches. So it's going to be pretty incredible. It's it's a huge step for all of humankind.
Before I let you go, anything else that's exciting you about this upcoming journey?
I'm excited to, live and with my crew and operate. We're going to be on the space station for 6 months. There's going to be some really cool science that we're doing. There's some upgrades that hopefully we'll get to do a couple spacewalks. So upgrades to the space station. And so hopefully people follow along on our mission. I think that it's going to be a lot of new scientific breakthroughs that we'll be able to kind of participate in. And at the same time, we're going to be seeing Artemis launch. And so it's going to be cool to see this kind of stepping stone, low Earth orbit, and then off into the moon. It's a pretty cool time to be at NASA.
Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, Semper Fi.